This is the most important day in this year, 2022. Friday, April 15th, is the anniversary of Jesus' sacrificial death. I'm happy to be able to address the millions of you on this special day, no matter where you are or what time it is that you can now view this recording. First, we will ask Brother Clive Martin, a helper to the writing committee, to read our text for the day.
We will always be with the Lord. 1 Thessalonians 4:17.
Thank you, Brother Martin. Friends, did you notice that it said, we? We will always be with the Lord. Who does the word we refer to? By extension, in a sense, we could say it embraces all faithful servants of Jehovah who are gifted everlasting life in the future. However, specifically, those words of Paul apply to the resurrected anointed ones. The words were written by the Apostle Paul under inspiration. All anointed ones look forward to the time when we receive our heavenly reward and thereafter will always be with the Lord. Of the millions who are viewing this morning worship program, by far the vast majority have the hope of enjoying everlasting life as humans here on earth. So, I thought I would address the bulk of my comments to those of you who have the marvelous earthly hope. Let's look back to the time of Adam's creation. Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 through 17 shares some details about the arrangement or conditions for Adam's continued existence. Please follow along as I read it from the screen. Genesis 2, starting with verse 15, says, Jehovah God took the man and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and to take care of it. Jehovah God also gave this command to the man, From every tree of the garden you may eat to satisfaction, but as for the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, you must not eat from it, for in the day you eat from it you will certainly die. So, Jehovah's original purpose did not include death. It would only be introduced if perfect Adam chose to disobey the clear command about not eating from the specific tree in the garden and become imperfect. We understand the cause, don't we? A spirit creature was the first to defect. In Jehovah's wisdom, he has never told us the original name of that rebellious spirit creature. In fact, God chose not to reveal even the descriptive name of this enemy until some 2,500 years after the rebellion in Eden. In fact, only 3 books of the Hebrew Scriptures even mention the name Satan, which means resistor. We now know him as Satan the devil. By clever means and an outright lie, he tempted Eve into eating from the very tree Jehovah had placed a restriction on. Eve got Adam to join her in eating of the fruit. So what was introduced to all mankind? Death. Death is inevitable in this old system. When Jehovah first created Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, there is no indication to us that the purpose or that he purposed to have some humans change life forms and dwell in the heavens as spirit creatures. So the majority of you viewing this program actually have the prospect of enjoying the original purpose for all mankind. Everlasting life as humans on the paradise earth. That is an amazing hope in itself. Of course, after Adam and Eve's sin, Jehovah immediately put into place an arrangement to end Satan's abusive reign. This arrangement was outlined in the first prophecy recorded in the Bible at Genesis 3:15. Please follow along on your screen as I read that prophetic verse. Jehovah said, "And I will put enmity between you," that's Satan, "and the woman," Jehovah's wife-like organization of spirit creatures, "and between your offspring," which includes the demon angels, "and her offspring," who ultimately proved to be Jesus Christ. "He will crush your head." Jesus will deal Satan a death blow, "and you will strike him in the heel." Satan would only be able to inflict the minor, temporary wound when Jesus gave up his human life in sacrificial death and was shortly thereafter resurrected to heavenly life. Adam's death had no value. He deserved to die for his sin. On the other hand, Jesus' death had great value because he died in a sinless state to replace what Adam lost for the entire human family. Jehovah God could accept the value of Jesus' perfect life as a ransom for obedient descendants of sinful Adam. And the value of Jesus' sacrifice does not stop at paying for our past sins. Psalm 51 verse 5 says, "Look, I was born guilty of error, and my mother conceived me in sin." So, being conceived in sin, we are bound to make more mistakes again. However, Jesus' sacrifice makes provision for our future. It will help loyal ones to gain the perfect life Jehovah originally intended for the offspring of Adam and Eve. The Watchtower once likened Adam to a father who died and left humans in such deep financial debt or sin that there is no possible way to get out of debt on one's own. In contrast, Jesus was likened to a good father who died and left us all a rich inheritance that not only frees us from the enormous debt of Adamic sin, but also provides enough for us to live on eternally. Jesus' death is not simply a cancellation of past sins, it is also a wonderful provision for the future. Yes, according to John 3:16, Jesus' death is a means of rescuing everyone exercising faith in him from sin, disease, old age, imperfection, and death itself. And it is that willing, selfless death of Jesus that we will all remember tonight at the memorial. Did you notice Genesis 3:15 said there would be enmity between Satan and Jehovah's heavenly organization? During that period of animosity, Jehovah progressively revealed the details to restore his original purpose to the earth. Those details included pointing his ancient servants toward the Messiah, who proved to be Jesus. Jesus came to earth as a perfect man and died to provide the opportunity for Adam's descendants to gain everlasting life. Jehovah also unveiled another unexpected detail in the first century. He made clear he would anoint 144,000 humans mentioned in Revelation 14 to change life forms and share in the heavenly part of his organization, actually ruling as kings with Jesus. All of this is what we will commemorate this evening as we follow the direction Jesus gave his 11 faithful apostles so that the glorious hope for both, the anointed and those with earthly hopes, does not fade into insignificance. In 2021, we had a record attendance at the memorial, even though it was by means of video conferencing. We all still have time today to send a text or make a phone call to interested ones that we have invited. Remind them of this special occasion and make sure they know how to go about attending this special meeting locally. Now we will ask Brother Martin to read the Watchtower comments for us.
Anointed ones who today finish their earthly course are instantly raised to life in the heavens. This is confirmed by the Apostle Paul's words recorded at 1 Corinthians 15, 51 and 52. Upon their resurrection, these brothers of Christ will have complete joy. The Bible tells us what work those who are changed in the blink of an eye will do in heaven. Jesus says to them, "To the one who conquers and observes my deeds down to the end, I will give authority over the nations, and he will shepherd the people with an iron rod so that they will be broken to pieces like clay vessels, just as I have received from my Father."
Thank you, Brother Martin. For the last 4 days, our Bible reading has covered the Bible accounts leading up to Jesus' sacrificial death. We invite you to follow along with the reading for today. The specific verses will appear on screen in your language. Please give contemplative attention to what is described.
On the first day of the unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying,
"Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover?"
He said,
"Go into the city to so-and-so, and say to him, 'The teacher says, my appointed time is near. I will celebrate the Passover with my disciples at your home.'"
So the disciples did as Jesus instructed them and prepared for the Passover.
Now on the first day of the unleavened bread, when they customarily offered up the Passover sacrifice, his disciples said to him,
"Where do you want us to go and prepare for you to eat the Passover?"
With that, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to them,
"Go into the city, and a man carrying an earthenware water jar will meet you. Follow him, and wherever he goes inside, say to the master of the house, 'The teacher says, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you a large upper room furnished and ready. Prepare it for us there."
So the disciples went out, and they entered the city and found it just as he said to them, and they prepared for the Passover.
The day of the unleavened bread now arrived, on which the Passover sacrifice must be offered. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying,
"Go and get the Passover ready for us to eat."
They said to him,
"Where do you want us to get it ready?"
He said to them,
"Look, when you enter into the city, a man carrying an earthenware water jar will meet you. Follow him into the house that he enters, and say to the landlord of the house, 'The teacher says to you, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And that man will show you a large furnished upper room. Get it ready there."
So they left and found it just as he had told them, and they prepared for the Passover.
Now because he knew before the festival of the Passover that his hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father, Jesus, having loved his own who were in the world, loved them to the end. The evening meal was going on, and the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to betray him. So Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he came from God and was going to God, got up from the evening meal and laid aside his outer garments. And taking a towel, he wrapped it around his waist. After that he put water into a basin and started to wash the feet of the disciples and to dry them off with the towel that was wrapped around him.
Do not let your hearts be troubled. Exercise faith in God. Exercise faith also in me. In the house of my Father are many dwelling places. Otherwise, I would have told you, for I am going my way to prepare a place for you. Also, if I go my way and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will receive you home to myself, so that where I am, you also may be.
Those were significant passages leading up to the greatest act of love of all time. Jehovah and Jesus cooperated together to undo the horrible results that came from the actions of Satan, Adam, and Eve. Whether of the anointed or the other sheep, we look forward to the future when we will always acknowledge the role that both Jehovah and Jesus played in rescuing us from sin and death. We pray that all of you will enjoy your evening during the memorial of Jesus' death.